We're gonna go live, tweaks.
Oh, are we live?
We are indeed. The time has come for another episode. But I won't say the name because we haven't done our official intro yet. This is the pre-show.
Yeah, but you always leave the pre-show in anyways.
Of course.
That's not how you take it out.
Yeah, of course. That's why. You can't do anything official until the actual thing. So then people, it's a psychological thing. So people know when it actually starts. And I like to leave a nice little 30-second segment to timestamp the pre-show. It works nice,
I like your Melza.
You like? Look it. I figured. Why not see the glow up right in front of us?
Fair enough.
I see chat going. So shall I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we start by saying YouTube. What's going on? It's your boy Booda back in the building for another POWERCREEP podcast. Here with the one, the only, you know him, you love him, my co-host. We got Tweaks.
What's up, fellas?
And we're here for another installment of the POWERCREEP podcast, which I already
sure
said.
are.
And yes, as we were just discussing, we've got my screen over here with the character in question, OG, and her glow up, who I'm sure Tweaks is very excited to talk about today.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I am excited.
Good.
Well, it's a weird update day, right? Because we had it on Tuesday was the actual update, and then now it's Thursday because this is our normal day to do the podcast. So it's been she's been out for a couple days, so people have gotten time to play with her and get used to her. So I'm assuming a lot of this information is hopefully reiterates what a lot of people have experienced with her. So should be interesting.
Should be interesting. And watching the last podcast back, we thought that there could have been a collab occurring at this moment.
Sure.
I know you and myself, I think, were pretty competent. However, no, they decided to revisit one of the OG permanent Crystal Gacha units.
Yeah, you know what? Didn't see that one coming at all. And it's always kind of been known that the shift forms of like the older units are still possibly getting shifts. Like are still going to happen eventually. We just don't know when. Units like this are like filler kind of information or filler units for when they don't have anything going on. So it kind of still, and I would still bank on collab coming next update. And by next update I mean like in 2 weeks, right? Yes. I don't see. We have essentially about 6 weeks before anniversary starts. So that's enough for this 2 weeks to be up, and then after that's done, some 2-week banner, and then after that another 2-week banner. So I think there's probably a 2-week collab in there. I don't know if it's the next update or the one right before Annie, but I would say probably this one. I wouldn't be surprised.
Two rather than three.
Yeah, just because it would put it on the 4-week mark, and when we've had a lot of collabs, especially if they don't want to add a time trial for one of the collabs in the early, winter/early spring, like we've had with like Slime and Attack on Titan, all that kind of stuff. There wasn't a time trial at all. They'll leave that for the anniversary. So when it doesn't have a time trial, it's usually 2 weeks collab. So it lines up pretty perfectly, and then like probably another DOH unit after that, and then anniversary. So look forward to that. I think if it does happen, and which I think a lot of us are like pretty much inkling that it's going to happen because the update days are again really weird.
Yeah,
we'll see about it. Yeah, super weird. But yeah, we can get into her if you're interested. Dudes.
I think we should do it. Speaking of weird update days, she dropped on a Tuesday.
Yeah, weird.
I don't remember the last Tuesday update ever.
Me neither. Maybe like a Wednesday or a Friday, but like Tuesday, no. I know we had like a weird Monday one time, but that was also very confusing. I don't remember exactly when that was, but let's get into her. So the new unit, Heavenly Knight Melza, is obviously a shift unit of a unit that's been out. So the White Knight Melza was a free unit you get from like the newbie rewards, and then Soul Reaper Melza was like the first gotcha unit that was a shift kinda back in like the first month of the game, back in 2008, fall of 2019. So she's been on the back burner for till now. And they just dropped a shift of her. Obviously, if you guys want to watch the story, the event stuff with her, it's actually pretty interesting how she came about and what her lore is. So that's pretty sweet. But herself, she's actually a pretty potent unit in the current power creep that we have. And like we've seen with units that just came out, I mean, she reminds me a lot of Bayonetta. She reminds me, I mean, she's a very strong attacker and is dual wielding. I mean, by dual wielding, I mean she has no single wielding tendencies, right? So you're not losing anything by dual wielding her, which is important to like essentially double her damage output, which is crazy. She's a very strong physical DPS right now, and being a permanent quote unquote unit, and we'll get to why I say quote unquote later because I'm Booda's pretty happy about it. She's pretty strong at release. So the gimmick with her, though, is that basically half of her hits are split between fire attribute and ice attribute. Now, units like Adel, who we've had in the past, are, yeah, okay, dual element, but he is able to manually switch before battle to a certain element or attribute of his skills between light and fire. That's not technically what she is. She cannot switch in between them, but she is forced for half of her skill hits and special hits to be half fire and half ice. So you have no way to, in my opinion, I would have really, really enjoyed that to be able to force switch it just like Adele, but I get why that, honestly, if her kit was the same with that available, it would be a little bit too ridiculous. And so that's a way of reeling it back in, and it also forces us to enjoy the fact that she's linked to Celios and Vaughn pretty heavily, and as you guys have probably seen in the event story. So having forced both fire and ice hits on all skills and specials, it is pretty cool. It's a nice lore aspect to her, but her skills themselves are pretty strong. Now I'm going to mention the hits here, and they're all going to be in single wield form, but you can double these by dual wield. Like I said before, she does not lose anything by adding dual wield. She does not lose any single wield passives. So dual wielding is the way to go if you want optimal damage.
But it's 14 SC, bro.
Oh my God, stop it.
Too expensive.
As we've always talked about, rerolling for that arc or getting that arc on, cheap selectors when you have the chance, it's a go-to arc. And specifically for one of these reasons, when a unit that comes out that can utilize it super well and that doesn't come with it innately, that's where you'd want it. So S1, though, is going to be your 8 hits base. It's going to be 4 hits of ice, 4 hits of fire, medium air, fire combo attack, followed by an ice combo. This is like a little bit of a lunge. She does jump in from distance to get into... honestly, it's one of her quicker skills, right? You can spam this really, really well and get some good damage out. Her S2, though, Heaven's Cross, frontal, medium area ice combo attack that launches enemies in the air, followed by fire combo attack. This is actually 7 hits of ice, 6 hits of fire, giving 13 hits overall. This needs to be extremely close range. This has no lunge at all. She needs to be up at the enemy's face in order to even use this. So this is not a skill you would use to get close to the enemy. This is one where you would use when you're already there. 13 hits, not bad. Split between ice and fire, 7 and 6. Her S3, though, glitters superb. Long range attack that instantly closes the gap for a wide area of fire and ice combo attack. This is interesting because it's 20 hits base, which means 40 hits dual wield. It's split between 10 fire and 10 ice. The thing about this is that the first part of the skill, the first 10 hits, are persisting, right? It's almost like what it says, long range attack, then instantly closes the gap. She does like, we just come out, Mia, right? Her S1 just throws a projectile at the enemy. It does that. So once it's released, it's going to persist. Which is pretty cool. So even if you get flinched out the last half of her skill, it's still gonna at least hit half of it. But yeah, 10 hits fire, 10 hits ice. It is a very cool skill and one of her better DPSs. I would say her S1 and her S3 are her best DPS skills by far, especially if you're spamming them. Her S2 is a little slower than the rest and doesn't have as many, have as much damage potential, honestly. So S1, S3 are going to be your go-tos. Niflheim, powerful wide area fire and ice combo attack. Now, this is also something we've seen with units. I think it's I'm reminded by Murnin, by Adel. It's not necessarily an AoE special. It is a wide area special, which means the wide area around the targeted enemy, all those enemies will get hit. But it's not going to hit enemies that are far away. So if you have an enemy far across the map and you target an enemy that's the other side of the map, it's not going to hit them. But all of the enemies directly around the enemy that you are targeting with the special will all get smacked by it. And it's 54 hits. It's split up 27. It's a weird combo of ice and fire. Like it switches in between a couple times, but it's overall 27 hits of fire, 27 hits of ice at the end. So I mean, it's pretty cool visually, honestly. Good special, 54 hits. 54 hits, and we've seen that with the units as of late. I know a lot of the units lately have had over 50 hits. I think the only one in recent memory that hasn't had a large hitting special has been Bayonetta, who was capped out at 15 or something like that. But having more hits allows you to enable it even heavier. I do have, did I even post that? There's a short coming out that I max enabled her to get her special, and it was just absolutely absurd. It does over 5 million damage, and it's like not realistic for most people, but being 54 hits lets you enable it pretty hard. Let's talk about her traits. So Fire and Ice damage, Azure Flame, Fire and Ice damage plus 100%, damage kept plus 10,000. This is obviously pretty nice. That's a big multiplier, which is just going to straight up double your damage. As we'll see in her kit, she does lack quite a bit of multipliers, quite a lot of general boost multipliers for her Fire and Ice damage. And you'll need to tailor that to an enemy's weakness, but this is a nice little boost off the rip. When enemy is a breaker, restore unit SCT 30 seconds. This is an ode to little old Vaughn. Getting, SCT regen upon a unit's break. And this means when an enemy is broken, she does not have to do the breaking. So she'll just straight up get 30 SCT whenever the enemy's breaks, which is dope. When skill attacking, enemy defense minus 20% and steal damage. Innate defensive piercing on all skills. You love to see it. When special hits an attribute weakness, damage cap plus 15,000. Obviously for her, which we'll get into a little bit, she wants to be hitting attribute weakness, which giving it an extra 15,000 cap on special. She does have a hiding special. She can enable it pretty well. This is just nice to have. Trait 2, Heavenly Knight, Battlestar, give all allies curse resistance plus 1 buff. Now this is interesting. This is very unique to what we haven't seen on many units. Is giving an automatic resistance to one single attribute or one single ailment resist. I think we saw something with, was it Dee Dee? That's the one that she had the poison resistance.
That she gave, yeah.
Yeah, to the whole team. This is cool. This is a little bit utility. I don't see this useful in that many places outside of Arena. Obviously, ailments are useful there, and certain formations can give ailments. I think it's honestly, I forget which one it is. I think it's Sword Runner that gives easily curse on regular attacks, but this is something. I'm not sure it's going to make her longevity even better by giving utility, but it's still strong. When close to death, very greatly restore HP, strength plus 100%, defense and mind plus 75% once per wave. This is essentially an innate awaken. And obviously, if you wanted to add more awakens to her, you could for the same scenario. I don't know. It's very, very strong, to be fair. Units with an alternate awaken to be able to stack those on each other and get more heals when you're close to death. So I don't mind it. And then won't fade from any enemy attacks. This is, I feel, one of their weird power creep things that they're starting to add to units consistently. Just, we had Bayonetta, we had Jean, we had Mia, and now Melza, all in a row that cannot faint from enemy attacks. Okay. I guess that's just their new little niche that they're adding to all these new units. And I don't expect them to continue that forever. It's funny that we just had 4 units in a row with cannot faint at all. Let's go over her skills though. So she has some weird stuff in here, and I think I do really want to go over the stuff in her kit that is innate and a little bit weird. Let me see this real quick. Default set. Let's go to the bottom, right? Let's start from the bottom up. This Celios and Vaughn souls are her most important aspects and are what's going to affect her unique passives, right? So she has these things called Soul Vaughn, Soul Celios. Now, whether you set these, so like this says, fire damage plus 30%, damage cap plus 6,000. When only one soul is set, triple effect. Celios, ice damage plus 30%, damage cap plus 6,000. When only one soul is set, triple effect. Now, as we see on the back end, it says when one soul is set, triple the effect. You can choose to unset one of these and set only one, and then this would be 90% and 18,000. Or you can do the opposite and do this 90% and 18,000. Now, if you want to, you could leave them both on, or leave one on. The reason you would want to do this and toggle this relative to the enemy's weakness themselves is because if you have the ability to force one of these, and you can only get one of the enemy weak to one of the fire or ice, you can enable her damage as much as you possibly can. Reason being that these extra soul enchant skills work what you equip and what you don't equip, right? So soul enchant steel, Vaughn set only. Physical damage capped to enemies weak to fire, 7,000. Celios set, you get physical damage weak to enemies weak to ice plus 7,000. If you only have Celios or Vaughn set, it doubles that effect. So you get 14,000 innately for that, all of your physical damage. Which makes sense because if you have an enemy that you're fighting against fire, you just fire weak and they're strongly resistant to ice, you would equip Vaughn, take off Celios, and you would further get 14,000 cap instead of losing that other 7,000. Or soul enchant skill. This is also relevant to what you're doing, right? So this increases your break for Vaughn, your cap during break for Vaughn, or in Celios you get critical damage, improved critical damage, as well as your damage cap for on critical hits. Cool. You can either leave one of these on, leave both of them on, do whatever you want, but the effects are doubled when you only have one set. So that turns into 100% break, 10,000 cap during break, or 40% for critical damage and 4,000 damage cap on crits, if you choose to use one. The shield for Vaughn, obviously it's earth damage taken minus 20%, or 40% if it's the only one set. Fire damage for Celios, fire damage taken minus 20%, or 40% if it's the only one set. Now, basically the TLDR of this is if you can make an enemy weak to one of them only, set that soul. So if they can make them weak to fire, use Vaughn. If you can only make them weak to ice, use Celios. But if you can make them weak to both, you do both. Because you cannot change the amount of hits or the hits of each attribute on the skills and special. So getting that 30% boost, that damage cap boost on the enemy, you'll want that for the separate hits. She is not as easy to cap on all of her hits if you have one attribute weak and one heavily resisted, right? You'll be losing quite a bit of DPS. So it's best to enable her into one specific attribute if you have to, or both if they're weak to both. Now, this brings up a different talk about how do we drop those resists, right? And I think before we get to that talk, let me just go over the rest of her kit. She has a very easy kit to work in the game. She has a lot of innates that are nice, some strength ups, just the stat ups are good, crit up 3, proud force, royal armor. She has divinity buster, which is a nice buster to have, slayers plus special damage, anti-typing, special boost, auto protection, auto critical, auto haste, all good autos, patience, 2, fire mega drive, attack raise 2, ice critical raise. This is where you're lacking a lot of the separate multipliers for each of the attributes on her skill hits. So you're going to be wanting to add some more stuff. I would probably and have been building general boosts to apply to both of these rather than doing fire attack raises or fire high drive. No, you want it to be applying to all of her skill hits or special hits. Physical weak point boost, of course, because she wants to be attacking weaknesses. Goddess Kiss innate, that's just nice to have if you just want to be using Sharp Eyes in general. I don't think it's necessary to have on every unit and add that for 11 SC, but for free, sure, we'll use it. Sword boost, sword high boost, sword mega boost. Ultimate boost 3 is nice to have because that's only on an LR Ark. She doesn't really have much SCT regen. She does have quick trigger, but of course you would be wanting to use the OP stuff on her, like skill charges, like Pirate's Feast, things that they're going to work for wave battles and or single battles. Indomitable Spirit, Sharp Eyes for free. You'd love to see it. That's a big boost to damage in general for skills, just to the cost of a little bit of MP. Chance Drive because that synergizes well with Vaughn's little soul. Giant Killing 2, awesome boost to skills and specials against bosses. And then that's about it for her passives. Now, the thing I mentioned before, dual wield. Why? I haven't mentioned anything to be single wield specific in her kit at all. So this is going to further double her physical hits. This is going to let her do her full damage cap on both physical hits, essentially doubling her damage potential if you didn't have any single wield boosts added on. This is a very, very, probably the strongest passive on her for PvE optimized damage. And this is where you would want the Sandworm Ark, and I believe was the Tales of Vesperia. One of those arcs from the Tales of collab also has it. Dual wield teachable, so you'll want to add that to her. As well as the event unit has it innate, so even if you were looking at 4 build and you couldn't find anything on the internet, the event build actually does an okay build for her. Now, I want to get back to how do we drop resist, because she wants to be attacking a weak attribute, right? So using these Vaughn and Celios Souls, this is what you want to be building for weak attributes. I did skip this over, so I'm going to go back and talk about it real quick. Soul Blade, when no attribute regular attack hits enemies. Soul Vaughn set, make it fire. Soul Celios set, make it ice. No attribute regular attack damage plus 50%. This is a bit of a wonky little regular attack thing. Obviously, if I don't really have a purpose for it just yet. She can hit pretty hard in regular attacks. Is of course, if the enemy is weak to fire and ice, you set those respective souls and then attack with her regular attacks. Of course, you'd be wanting to use, at that point, you'd be wanting to use regular attacks or, weapons that are neutral attribute or no attribute in order to take advantage of this. Nothing crazy here though. Okay, how to drop res. So we have a couple magics that work. Let me get it down to here. We have a couple magics that work. Of course, you have the things like weak, which decreases attribute resistance by 20. So that's 20 right there. Giga Weak is the same. It's just AoE for all the enemies on the map. You have things like Flame Circle, which drops ice resistance. Now, this is not applicable to all enemies at once, but you can put this on a support and throw it on enemies and cast it onto enemies. You have things like Wind Circle, which decreases fire resistance. I believe Flame Circle is only on the UR. I think it's Kagetsuchi, but Wind Circle is a bit more. You can get this a little bit easier. I think it's on the St. Morius arc, right? Yes, it is. Fire resistance dropping. Now we have other units that pair really well with her. Reason being, they can drop resist as well. We have Mr. Lenius, which is one of the most P mages in the game at the moment. He has a thing called, where is it? Elemental Circle, which innately drops, which stacks with the other circles, which innately drops all fire, ice, earth, and thunder resistance by 20 when the debuff is on them. So that's really nice. And he obviously loves fire and ice magic. He loves attacking those resistances for weak, so that synergizes really well with her. Or we have Shift Eliza. Shift Eliza has an anima that drops enemies resist by 20 on fire resist. Let's see that. Blazing Anima, fire and light resistance minus 20 to all enemies. This does drop it by 20. So that synergizes really well with her Vaughn set, or, just in general, just grabbing a weak attribute, getting that. And that animas does stack with weak, that stacks with circles, that stacks with elemental circles, great. The other thing that I would add in, if you've been here during the Dr. Stone collab, that was, 2 years ago, which, I mean, if you've been here for 2 years, you probably know what this already is, where I'm going with this. It's the same thing as weak, but it's a little bit stronger. It's going to be Extreme Bad Chemical, which in turn drops resistances by 35 instead of the 20 from weak. Additionally, that's great. 35 is awesome. If you do have the option to get Theopolis of Lost Magnus, which is very potent, is one of the best arcs in the game, the arc skill at level 1 decreases it by minus 25. So this says minus 50, but this at level 1 it's minus 25. Time stop, reduce all enemies' resistances. It's the same buff icon as weak, so it will, and extremely bad chemical, so it will not stack with those. But it is a very strong buff that you can do innately. At level 10, it drops it by 50, which is quite strong for units that like attacking weaknesses. This is one of Melza's. This is basically if you're running Melza on a good arc, on an attacking arc for her, you could run this on a support and use it whenever you need to drop resist, to be honest. It is quite strong. I've been using it quite a bit with her, and it's, just very strong. The other thing that I think is very OP that most people will not have because they probably weren't around. This was in 2020, fall of 2020, was during the ReZero collab. we have a thing called Gaze of the End. Battle start attribute resistance of all enemies minus 10. This is going to afflict enemies at battle start minus 10. So if they were already neutral to fire or ice, it instantly drops them down 10, which makes them weak, which further helps enable all of her weakness advantages, essentially. And yeah, most people are not going to have this, but it's just a shout to something that I have been using on her, even just slotting this into her kit. It works really, really well for a lot of content, especially since many enemies are weak. Now, her equips. Let's go into her equips. So, her paids, first and foremost. Heavenly Blade, Morius, plus 20. I have maxed this out with the event. Physical attack damage plus 20%, damage cap plus 2,000, critical damage plus 1,000. Now, this isn't the craziest of passives, to be honest. Sure, she is dual wielded. She should be dual wielded, so you know that damage cap boost is essentially double dipped. Don't know. Yes, I think they lessened the damage cap available on her just because they know that people are probably going to dual wield her. It's just not that crazy of a sword. There are other non-attribute swords that you can use, like Muramasa, for sure. The Sword of Lost Souls, for sure, are great on her. And I'll just show those right now. Hold on 1 second. Let's do favorites. Muramasa. Where is it? Okay, so Muramasa, of course, we've always talked about and tried to represent in the community that this is one of the strongest swords in the game. It still is. It's also a non-attribute sword, which works really well with her. Heavy physical attack damage boost, as well as heavy strength. So really, really nice. Sword of Lost Souls. This is physical and special attack damage boost, as well as non-attribute. And then this is essentially your Trishula for specials, which is great for her. If she has, you know, let's say an enemy is very weak to fire, but heavily resistant to ice, she's not going to get that whole penalty boost, or that whole penalty from, like, let's say 80, 90 resist on ice on her special. This will help it, you know, attack 0 res, essentially, for her ice, or the heavily resistant attribute. So definitely very, very nice on her. And she synergizes with Scarlet Blade. Of course, this is more cap. This is non-attribute. Works just fine. As for her other paid accessory, Sacrolucent Tiara, continuous brave effect, obviously nice. 20% in battle strength is good. Damage cap to enemies and break plus 3,000. Fire/earth attack damage taken minus 10%. And I have this maxed at, so far maxed at plus 10. It'll go to plus 20 at the end of the event, as well as the sword plus 40, but we just don't have those materials. 83 strength, 500 HP, 59 defense. This is probably the stronger of the two for longevity. It's more SC saves, and then it's more fun for me because I like breaking enemies. And her break is pretty relevant, to be honest. Fire attack, damage taken minus 10% is also a nice little mitigation. Are either of these extremely potent? I wouldn't say so. I would say damage cap boosts are always nice, and you know, you kind of had to pick the litter between both of these. But neither of them are going to be like, you know, oh, there's one that's super powerful over the other. We've had units in the past, very recent memory, who have extremely potent paids. These are not as crazy. And being on a perm unit, that's perfectly okay. You don't need to spend paid gems to get these. But as for a secondary weapon, and I think you should be using a secondary weapon almost all of the time for her because she should be dual wielded. A couple things. So you could obviously dual wield an extra sword, and like I talked about before, even though the other options are very good, Sword of Lost Souls, Scarlet Blade, Muramasa, all great. Or you could tune into a different weapon. Now, I have on her right now Covert Gun Trishula, and the reason I talked about before is because her skill hits are always split up between fire and ice. If one of those attributes is going to be heavily resisted, this helps you mitigate that and, you know, attack at essentially those mitigated hits are going to be attacking 0 resist, which is great for skills. This helps her damage not get nerfed as easily as it could be if using non-Trishula, but that's not the only option. If you already know you're going to be, you know, lightly resisted or even unresisted or even weak resisted to both attributes, you could use something else. And that being, let's do favorites. One of the best weapons in the game, Cerulean Axe Jill Eld. One of my favorites. Axes are very potent for breaking, and she has relatively okay break, especially if you equip with the Vaughn Soul only. This increases break percent. This is obviously a plus 40, a very big strength boost, physical attack damage boost. It's just a very, very good weapon overall. And I had the event one? I think the event one is going to be upgraded. It actually is a spear, which I probably can't even find right now, to be fair. Start from the bottom, let's go up. And I'll notice it, there we go. Crimser Twin Spears. This can't be upgraded fully, but just like we had in the last Mia event, this cap will get upgraded most likely at plus 40 when we get those materials to upgrade it. Fire and Ice skill is probably going to be the 5. I would say probably plus 500 each. This might go up to 5% or 10% for the ice damage. We'll have to see when it comes out, but this also has no attribute and it just helps boost her caps. So if you wanted to dual wield that with her, that's perfectly fine. For this stuff in general, I'm using Cerulean Axe Jaleld, which is cool. Then we have the AER from the newest arc, the newest SSR Ark, which is pretty strong, honestly. The Holy Ring of Antipodes, which worked perfectly with her. Fire and Ice attack damage plus 10%, strength, defense, MP, perfectly fine. Let's do confirm. And why don't we go test her out, dudes? So here's the thing. We're going to see a couple different scenarios here, right? I do want to bring her, oh, not this. This is not good. I do want to bring her into scenarios where she's going to be neutral, but also weak, right? I think her difference, just even 10 res can show a massive difference between the potency of her, right? So these enemies are all neutral to fire and ice. So that means she gains essentially no bonuses against these enemies, which is cool. Whatever, that works. We'll go over here. We'll attack them. 37,000, awesome. This is with her paid and stuff. It's gonna look perfectly fine. But where things get really ridiculous is when you start getting weaknesses on enemies. Nice pull, Booda.
Figured it was fitting.
So the one thing I am gonna do is I am gonna add in Gaze of the End on her just to drop that res by 10. You'll see how much of a difference that makes. So we're going to drop a support, no support. Gaze of the End works for me. This is going to drop the enemy's resist by 10. So they're going to be -10 to fire, -10 to ice. See just how much of a difference that makes. We have both equipped. Now what happened here is that since they're -10, we further activated that plus 7,000 damage cap on each of the weaknesses, right? So she's going to look like almost 50k per dual wield hit. And then both being weak helps us to get, full weak point boost and all that good stuff on her. She's going to be capping really, really easily. Like, that's a lot of dual wielded hits. That's 40 hits dual wield. Awesome. Dual wielding around 50k. Now, can she get a little bit more ridiculous? Now let's look at the difference, right? So this is with both resists, okay? Now let's say her ice was the one that's resisted. Let's take off that real quick. You'll see the difference in so take off Celios, this is gone. We now have plus 18,000 fire damage instead of 6,000. We are losing, actually, this is not true. We are losing no cap on physicals because they're going to be weak to fire. And we no longer have Vaughn set. None of these two give any caps in this current situation that we have right now. So we are essentially gaining overall, lose 7,000, gain 12,000. We're gaining quite a bit of cap at the moment. It does harm her ice skills. And those, I guess 12,000, losing 11,000. Well, it's just incrementally better. But it doesn't really matter for the overall aspect of her, right? So they're all coming in here. We're going to hit them with this. You'll see a bunch of the hits are 63k. The others are 44-ish. So yeah, there's a big discrepancy. Those average out to about, again, 50k-ish. And since she's capping both, it works really well. Now, this is a lot more potent when you do have an enemy that is fully resistant to ice. Let's say you don't have Trishula. Let's say you don't have the ways to drop resist. She's going to struggle on half of her skill hits that are heavily resisted. But if you can somehow make them a little bit less resistant, and maybe not negative, but just drop into one of them fully, you're going to do a lot of damage. Let's just go over skills. Since I wasn't able to show them crazy her skills, how they work themselves, I probably would have to take all of the damage off of her. But let's go look at this one. This one's a little bit of a jump. Bang, see, like I said, a little charge in. You probably saw, I'm going to target the far one. You probably saw me. So she has to be super close for that. No lunge at all in the S2. And then the S3. So this is going to launch up, smash. See that little projectile coming in? She's throwing a spear at him. Bang. She'll hit him. And then she'll jump in and zoomies. Pretty nice skill, honestly. And that spear is persisting. If she gets knocked out of the second half of the skill, it still will hit. So, cool. And she hits damn hard, right? Like, this is dual wielding. Yes, she has 40 hits on her S3. 16 on her S1. 26 on her S2. 54 overall on her special, which we'll show in a second. I just kind of want to show you the S1 spam real quick. She's a very strong permanent unit, and being just released, she hits real hard. She hits real hard. Yeah. Yes, it is. It is, really, honestly. And then it can be boosted even heavier with, all the enablers that we have in the game. It just gets super aggressive. So I'm going to do S1 spam. This is actually pretty strong, and probably people didn't expect this. The S3 is the big hitter, but this is fast. Super quick to spam. So that's one of my favorite skills. The S3 is obviously a friggin' tactical nuke. You love to see it. The S2 is just a little lacking. That's all. So why don't we check out her special? Do that. Because it's pretty fun.
I saw your couple shorts about her. They were pretty entertaining.
I do. Actually, you know what? Thanks for reminding me. I actually need to post that one because it finally figured itself out. Let's just bring a little Sarah and a little Great War Ruin. Let's give her a little special. Ooh, I could have just given her a lot more stuff, but whatever. I don't know if this is going to kill, to be honest. Just because I don't have anything really for her special, but they are weak, so it should be fine. Oh, see. So you see how I'm not hitting all of the enemies? We see that? Are we all in agreement there? It's a wide area attack, but it's not that wide, right? I only hit this enemy, which is jank. Like, why? So we're gonna go back and actually get her special to cap a little bit. But her special animation, obviously you guys just saw, is pretty dope. I do like it a lot. It is a very cool special. Why don't I do this? And then just very lightly. No, this is fine. This is fine. Okay. We're going to rip them all in the center with Theopolis, and then we're going to use our special, because I want them to all to get hit. And you'll see it's going to hit all of them. It's not just single target. Come on, baby. All right, they're all in a very similar spot, and then we go like this. I think I have I only have her fire on. Yeah, I only have her fire on. It's fine. But yeah, pretty cool animation.
It's flashy.
Flashy, very, very flashy. Obviously, if I used Sarah's special, we would have been hitting a little more. Doesn't really matter. We're here for the animations. Pretty cool. Yeah. I like her a lot. I mean, in the fact that she is nichely powerful. I mean, even without resist, even having 35 to 40k hits on her physicals, if not more, if you enable her, without any weaknesses, and using things like Trishula to do that, she's still strong out of the box, right? But if you have the option to drop her resist, the enemy's resist to weak, which is all the things we talked about, she gets very, very strong for the current release that we have. Her S1 and S3 are very strong skills to DPS. Her S2 is okay. Yeah, she works pretty well. Is there any content that... Here's the... Okay. Side note.
Content.
Dropping her out. No. Dropping her out. Now, I just want to mention a couple things. Of course, if you wanted to link these up with arc skills, like the Apel Nexus arc skill, like the Kagutsuchi arc skill, where these are both fire and ice. Of course, her Vaughn set, her Vaughn and Celios set are going to be, those souls things, are going to be all fire damage. So like if you wanted to gain full damage, plus 90%, you'd set one of these and use, like, let's say I'm equipping Vaughn, you would use Kagutsuchi, or leave Vaughn out, use the Celios arc skill. Those things are affected by these, which is pretty cool. So if you want to use these for more damage and time stop damage, that's pretty fun. Just as of note. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Now, Booda, what did you want to talk about? Want to talk about something? You want to bring that up on your little? You want to bring up the notice on your screen?
Do you want to do that before the
Or
arc?
you can't. You can't. I can't. I
mean,
want to do that before the arc. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Oh, wait, why? I'm not following. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll just bring it out.
Just do your thing.
Okay. We're gonna talk about this stuff.
Are you talking about the gacha updates?
We're gonna talk about this. Stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You want to talk about how annoying this is?
I mean, I think I said everything I needed to in under a minute.
Okay, so this is kind of in, you know, I don't want to say this lately. There's good things and there's bad things, but it's mostly bad, right? Like I'm pretty annoyed for the fact that they made this change to a permanent unit. Now, what I'm talking about here is them dropping a unit that's a technically quote unquote perm, but now she is not available to get in any gacha outside of her own banner until 6 months down the road. Now, this is what we've seen. This is fine for DOH units. We've seen that in the past. That's like our expected thing nowadays. The unfortunate part of that is that we've always seen with perm units being immediately available. The question is, does that allow them, because she is a very strong unit, does that allow them to be a little bit more lenient with the power creep they're giving for permanent units when they're released, right? If she was a perm only unit available on any tickets, any of those stockpiled regular gotcha tickets you have, would she be as powerful as she is right now? I don't think she would be, but that's still not an excuse.
I was
right?
gonna say, is that just like a moral value that you carry? Like you personally understand?
I don't get that.
You don't,
because I think you could absolutely still make her the same and just have her fully free. Now, the other thing is to understand is, yes, I'm not giving this as a cop out for them, but it is a business, right? And I can guarantee you that the past perm banners haven't created any sorts of gotchas rely on FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. They rely on you missing stuff to create a want to get stuff when it's on banner, to want to spend. I get that. Perm banners in the past have not been doing it all, not even close. They had to have been activating at a loss for almost all those banners. The thing is, this is not the way I would do it to, create FOMO, right? Just putting her on a banner, giving her rate up tickets, which is again great. I do love the fact that there's rate up tickets, and tickets from her event that you can get for free. We get a daily step up gotcha or a daily spin gotcha. I get that, awesome. It's just that everything outside of that is just went down the drain, right? Being a perm unit, only available 6 months, at least 6 months from now on. It feels really bad to anyone. I mean, perm banners were already a general skip for most people just because the units just weren't amazing, didn't have crazy niches. But her being a very strong unit on a banner and not being available from 6 months on is just weird, man. This is a total switch up. And I know you did your little short video, of course.
I did.
And this was the main point of that, was being like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I see all the sides. And so I get that, like, it's all in all, it's hard to even talk about, because yes, when you break it down, it's not even a significant decrease in the chances of people actually getting Melza in the means that they took away, right?
Right.
Some people feel differently. I think some people gave me a little pushback on that. But the way I see it, basically, you can't get her as an off banner or from tickets now, 6 months until after she's released, right?
Right.
And this is what I'm expecting. This is a new standard. I don't think this is like what they do when they make a certain level of power for their perm units. I think premium units, right? It's all interchangeable, perm, permanent, and premium. When they make those types of units, I think they're going to give them a little more, but I think this was the cost, as you said. And for some reason they had to, that was a mental, or no, like you said, maybe it was a speculative business decision to drive FOMO.
Had to have been. Here's my thing.
Which makes sense.
Okay, so you remember our last permanent banner, right? Dee Dee.
Garbage.
You know how trash of a unit I mean, like, literally, she is not even close. She can enable poison. Cool. Poison is pretty much useless except for enabling other people's damage. It literally does nothing. She does essentially no damage herself. She is a home screen icon. She is nothing more than that to me at this point. She has her own uses, sure. And, you know, I may shit on her quite a bit, but in the relevant power creep era that she was released, she was garbage. They could not have made any money on that.
No.
Like, seriously.
No.
And I mean, make money. Yeah, the people probably spent to get her. I get it. But the money that it probably cost their employees to actually make it, to spend time on her, to get her stuff all ready for release, and to have that just straight up flop,
yeah,
that had to have hurt.
Yeah.
That had to have hurt. So that was I feel like a stick in the back to them. They were like, yo, we need to change something.
Right.
Because this is essentially a wasted 2 weeks of, again, working at a loss.
Yep.
So do I understand that that's probably a business decision they had to make? Yes. Do I love the way they went about it? No. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They could have made her, they didn't have to choose the 6-month iteration as a thing. They could have just made it until her banner's done, right? Or the next update after her banner's done.
Yeah.
For her to be released. If you can only get her in the 28 days, I think it's a 28-day banner. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see this real quick. I think it's a 28-day banner, or whatever how long it is, until after she's out of her own banner to get her. Fine, sure.
Yep.
But I don't know, man.
And something I want to get out before I forget how I want to say it. I think in the long term, this will, well, I don't know. In the long term, people won't care much about this. There were already so many comments that from new players that didn't even know, you know, the current structure of how certain types of units are released and when they're released in the off banner pool and their timeline, 6 months, all that stuff, right? So they're like, why are people even upset? I don't even understand what's going on. So all of the new players that come during this banner moving forward, this is going to be a non-issue for them, I think.
Yep.
All this does is cut off people that were hanging on by a thread because there is a certain expectation that was there for permanent units. And I mean, yes, that's the stigma that was there. Players couldn't wait for a permanent unit so they could start saving their crystals for whatever's next because it feels like there's always an onslaught of things that you want to summon on in this game for when you go from DOH to collab to anniversary back to collab. And so from the player's stance, it feels like a slap in the face when that's something that you are looking forward to. But like you said, that ball was very much in our court as the players. And this is Adis trying to take it back. It's just a very loud way to take it back.
Oh, yeah.
And so
now they're trying to, and they're trying to make it not feel as bad, right? With the daily spin gacha, we get 17 free singles. We do get a good amount of tickets within the event itself. I mean, we're getting over almost 40 spins.
Yeah.
Within the event.
Yeah.
Which is 4 multis of rate up on her banner without spending a dime or any gems at all.
Yeah, which is probably...
So they're trying to lessen the blow. But as we go from the future, if they keep releasing powerful units as these types of perm, quote-unquote perm units, I think people won't care as much. But, again, like you said, it's the people that were hanging on by a thread. It's people that were looking forward to perm banners to have a break to maybe essentially get them in tickets or, you know, other pools after the banner's already done and, you know, just relaxing. That unfortunately is not the case for this unit. Nor probably, I would assume this is the standard going forward.
I'm pretty sure. And 6 months is a That's a long time. In the way that Adis is currently power creeping their game, 6 months is a long time.
6 months is a long time. I mean, you think back 6 months from now, it was DMC, sure.
Was it?
Yeah, 6 months. Well, yeah, August. So let's say drop of Maze, Shift Leona, Lagrange, Thouser, right around there. This is a long way from the DPS of those units.
Yeah.
An extremely long way. So,
6 months feels bad.
6 months, in 6 months from now, it could be absurd as to what we're seeing, to be fair. Yeah.
So
it feels really, really bad. And this is not their best look.
There was no good way to do this, I don't think. But like you said, I get it from a business stance.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's about all.
Yeah,
I
mean, I would say.
Well, here's my question. Like,
yes.
Did you want to break down the math? Wasn't there a certain? Was the math that you had that whole debate on in regards to this right here?
The daily spin free gacha? Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah. So, like, here's my thing. So, 17 free spins, right? For her being on rate up, 17 free spins is gonna give. I can't bring up the math on my iPad right now. Like, that's just how. Just gonna tell you, 17 free spins independently valued at each other are going to be a 12.76% chance of getting her. Everyone has basically 12.76% of people are going to get her on the free tickets. Now, let's say we have 40 spins overall. I don't know the exact amount. It's somewhere around there. We get at least 2 multis-ish from the event, from the part 1. So, let's just say 37 pulls overall. Okay. So 2 multis, we get the 17 daily free spins, 37 pulls. That's a 25.7% chance of anyone getting her on any of the free pulls. So 17 free single spins, 20 tickets. That's a lot for free with spending no gems.
They should have put all that before we should have read that before we read the 6 month.
No. It's still. I think it's still a crap move. But then again, that's what they're trying to do to make us forget about the 6 month thing. Right. Correct. So yes, everyone has being a Perm unit, and this is what we've seen on collab banners as well. Like, those tickets are actually pretty awesome because they are on rate up. Yeah, you have a 75% chance not to get her, but 25% chance for just like not doing anything. I mean, that's not bad. At a free pool for a Perm unit that's going to come out in 6 months, essentially. I don't know. It feels a little bad, but people say it's normal, all this stuff. Yeah,
I see.
Luck sack, I don't know. 25% is a pretty good amount for a free unit. For a unit that's just coming out.
You're playing a gacha game.
Like, yeah, you're playing the gacha game.
That's
you
the
have
realization everyone needs to come to at the end of the day.
Yeah. So
yeah, interesting.
Yep. So yes, there are free daily spins. Make sure you do these. Of course, this is going to give you your one single 0.8% chance every day to grab her without spending gems. Yeah. Anyways, you want to go over the Ark?
Yeah, the second thing on the gacha.
So this is cool. It's actually a pretty damn good SSR Ark. I'll give them that. And this is available right away, and it's available on tickets. And I know that because, 1, I checked the probability, and 2, I yanked it on my SSR pulls. So that was pretty sweet. But the Ark itself is pretty solid. Gallant Fire, Imperial Ice, permanent SSR available immediately in all banners. Well, I guess not the Mia banner. I think it's still up, but regardless. Arc trait, when HP is 50% or more, strength plus 35%. So essentially a passive Grand Brave effect that's not actually Grand Brave. This is a stackable effect, essentially. When HP is less than 50%, defense and mind plus 25%. So a little bulkier when people are taking more damage than you wouldn't like. But when taking lethal damage, survive and recover 50% HP once per wave. So a free revive. And then battle start, autocast Firewall 2 and Ice Wall 2 on unit only. So this decreases, I think it's earth damage and... Yeah, no. Fire, dude. I literally forget these all the time.
It's okay.
Firewall Flame Wall is earth damage, so this is going to be earth damage minus 35% for that one. And then Ice Wall is minus 30%, 5% fire damage. So it works well with her other stuff, passively. Where is it again? Now I lost it. Unlucky. We're back. As to the passives, so we have a couple cool things on here. Ice Drive is nice, of course. Fire Chance is cool. Fire attack damage to enemies and faint or break plus 10%. This is something new that we've seen on this arc. And then, of course, the most notable things. Patience 2 is nice. Not really that crazy. Just useful in places like Arena, I would definitely say. Life Brave, usable. I mean, I don't really equip this on many units at all. But Twin Dragons. Twin Dragons is the skill that most people were looking forward to. Battle Start, give unit a critical rate plus 15% buff and a break plus 50% buff. Now, this is cool in the fact that it is another passive break boost. The thing is, it is a generic critical rate buff, so it does not stack with things like fast crit, like auto crit, demons like way, like stuff that gives that generic crit boost. So it is also a generic break buff. So it is the same buff that is activated from Tinkili's special, as well as the UR Murder Yarvis, UR Ark skill. So it's that same passive, though it's not going to stack with those. But as you can tell, when I say the break buff is not stackable with Tinkili's special and a UR Ark skill, that means it's pretty rare, right? So this in itself is a nice buff. If you're going for a full breaker build, and it's active until effect is active until your first incapacitation, this is a nice little additive boost. It is additive, right? So if you have your base break and you add a breaker passive for plus 50% break, that's plus 50%. You now are at plus 50%. This is going to be another additive plus 50% before all calculations. So this one then turn into a plus 100% overall if you just have the breaker passive. So it's not like it's going to multiplicatively increase your break, but it is a little bit effective, right? And for units that have a ton of break innately, like Murrins, like your Shift Lancevilles, like all those units with like a lot of breaker passives that give a strong additive boost, it's going to be diminishing returns. But it is still something. And that's why I think it was probably 11 SC, because it's, as we talked about all the time, luxury skills become more expensive. As you get into a specialization, you'll have more and more skills cost heavier SC amounts in order to reduce the ability to specialize into those easily, right? For breakers, this is going to be a very good skill, and the fact that it's on a Perm SSR is very nice. It's just expensive, 11 SC, which I don't honestly really don't mind. I'll probably put this on my breakers anyways. It doesn't really matter for me. But yeah, doesn't stack with other similar stuff, but it is nice. So, cool skill.
That's a tough sell for me right there.
What?
Because, let's just say the unit has auto crit innate.
Auto crit innate.
11 SC for
has breaker, has destroyer, has a passive
breaker
that gives maybe plus 100%. Yeah, it's diminishing returns.
But it is
still effective. Yeah, but if you're trying to specialize for max break, you would use it.
I think it should have been its own unique buff that just gave you both.
I agree. It should have been like a Twin Dragons buff, and it would have been absolutely cracked out of its mind, giving plus 15% stackable crit as well as plus 50%.
And that would be dope.
Yeah, pretty correct. But again, it's not like that. So unfortunately, it's still very good, just not like that. Holy Ring of Antibodus, which I kind of discussing Melza, fire and ice attack damage plus 10%. No ailment resist or attribute resist, but it is still 67 strength, 40 MP, 52 defense. Just reminds me of another, a 10% boost to both of her attributes, as well as, useful for other units with those attributes. Cool. And it's all damage, right? It's not just physical. It can be physical, magical, special, and arc skill, which is cool. Yeah, good arc, honestly. An SSR arc that is, I'm glad it's added to the pool. Like, just in general, as a permanent SSR, which you can get on any banner, it's dope. So very useful stuff on here. Yeah, cool. Boods. You know what's next? Did you want to talk about the LC pass?
Oh, the premium pass.
Premium pass. So they did just
Quite
release.
Correct.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Non-spenders. I know people have been looking for 3 years now for like a subscription, right? We had the standard LC pass release, which was like a lot of quality of life stuff that was released within the game. Your XPs, your orb limits, your Arc APs, your souls, your multi rewards, all that good stuff. It is still a very good pass for $4. But then they dropped this on us, which is a premium pass. Essentially, you spend $10 per month. You get 960 paid gems, 540 upfront free crystals. And then for every month, essentially you log in every day, you get 100 extra gems every day for 25 days, which turns out to 4,000 gems overall, with 960 of those being paid, which is cool. $10, cool. You expect to get the $10 pack anyways if you're thinking about it. And then you can afford like at least one first slap step up for a unit in that month that it's released, which is cool. I don't mind that. But on top of that, you do get, for 25 days, 5 orb recovers per day. So that's 125 permanent orb recovers to get. But on renewal, here's where it gets a little bit aggressive. You get all that for $10, which is not a crazy value, but it's still something. Like, I don't think it's like cracked out of its mind without this. But people do spend, and I'm a victim to it, people do spend a good bit of money to get UR dust. Arc skills are quite potent in this game. I'm not saying anyone has to get this stuff, but upon renewal, and if you don't miss any months, so your first month, 25 days, you won't get a UR dust. But every month after that, if you continue the subscription, you get 1 free UR dust, which it's a reward that's essentially unattainable for 98% of the population of the game.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You can get UR dust shards from Arena, and get 2 of those essentially every month, and maybe a couple more every month to get 10 and forge into UR dust. Cool. That's a very free to play way to get it. Some events like Annie's maybe have 1 UR dust we can get, and that's like maybe once or twice a year. Then we have this, and this is going to unfortunately put a lot of people out for being free to play anymore, I would assume. If you're a hardcore free to play player, if you're staying strong, God bless you. But for the people who want to spend a little bit, maybe get a little bit more gems into their account, a little bit more influx, for every time you renew, you get another UR dust, which essentially means in every 9 months, without any other sources, you can max a UR arc skill. For me, it's quite potent because I do get stuff from the Crimson shop, which of course you guys could always do as well. More UR dust there. Arena for top 50, time trial stuff, rankings. And I still find this extremely beneficial. I mean, literally, here's the thing. For even dolphin spenders, for spenders that want to max out the UR skills, this is crazy value. Just for reference, a lot of people, even if the New Year's banner, that one with the LR Arc that was behind an $80 paywall, to get 3 UR dusts in the LR Arc and all the other stuff, people would have spent $80 to even get 3 UR dusts in just with that. Even without the LR, and even without all the other rewards. So the fact that they're essentially giving 1 per every $10, it's going to have a lot of people sink their teeth into getting it, right? And I know we've talked in my guild with people, and people are like, this might cause me to break the fully free to play status, because it is very much worth in the terms of the game. Now, if you play the game every day, if you're spending a lot of time on it, if you want to support the devs at all, yeah, you could value this is pretty useful for $10. I would say I think its value is unquestioned. It's the matter of if you want to do it or not. So,
yes,
yeah.
The way I see it, Last Cloudia has now officially segmented their free trial way to play this game, if you're free to play, and now to get the full experience, right? That's below whale, but still supporting the game financially, you buy both of these passes. Buying both of these passes gives you're just exponentially ahead of free-to-players that start today, right? If 2 accounts start today, one starts with both of these, the other one doesn't.
Yeah, in 10 months, one's going to be exorbitantly highly progressed than the other.
So there now is that line that's just drawn in the sand for sure. Which it's fine, right? That's like you said, it's a business. They have to make their money, and
Yeah.
free to play
And I
don't
don't
pay the
blame-
bills.
Yeah.
And if you want to support the game, and you are able to, right? You have the means to. There's a lot of value here. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. No doubt. I think it would have been nice if the login bonus for the premium was paid crystals, but you know. You get what you can.
You know, people talked about that. Like, why isn't it all paid? I get it. You imagine $10 for 4,000 paid crystals? I would be so in, dude.
4,000? Oh, right. Cause paid.
Oh, with all the dailies and stuff. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if it was 4,000 for $10 and then you UR'd us? I'd be like cracked out of its mind.
Yeah. That'd be dope.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not. It's just
But it's
is.
fine.
I think it's
worth it
well
for the
priced.
UR dust.
I think it's well priced for what it gives in relevance to whatever else is in the game.
Sure.
It's essentially a $10 pack with all that extra shit. So
It is.
yeah.
But
And
yeah.
I know Shadow says in chat something about it being more expensive. Yeah, I know. I think he's from Brazil. I think talk to Corono. He's from Brazil. Like, there's a lot of countries
That's
that it's
true.
way more expensive on, where
Yeah.
currency is not as well as.
It's not valued.
I mean, it's
to
just
the-
it's a lot more expensive for a lot of
Yes,
people.
yes.
So if you're not in U.S., EU, or even a place that is well priced, you don't have to spend it all. I would again make that a personal decision, but it's pretty worth for what it is, for what it gives.
for sure.
Yeah, so LC Pass, we got Melza, we got the Ark, we got the LC Pass, we got an event going on, Booda.
We do.
We
Tell
have
me
a
about
lot
it.
of shit in this game that it's like a lot, right? So our events right now, we have, and by a lot I mean a lot of cool stuff that you can get that we've been waiting around all year for, really.
Oh.
Let's talk about the Cookie Hunters. So the Cookie Hunter quest is a daily quest you can do every single day, and you get, when you complete it, you get one Goddess Prism Shard. It's a very, very easy battle, even for newer players. Just bring a support, whatever. Extremely easy. You can only use male units, and you get a God Relic Prism Shard. Great. 10 of those equals one God Relic Prism, essentially a Mother Prism. You can boost anyone's SC. But what you get from this is more prisms, right? So we do this every day. I believe the first Prism exchange ticket was 300. Both of those afterwards cost 600 each. As you do the event, as you get these little chocolate things or whatever they're called, you can get radiances. You can get a bunch of mothers, like 900 mother souls or something crazy. Cool, you get all that stuff. Where you use this is in the prism trading space. You get 3 prisms you can choose from. It's going to be all male units. Of course, if you probably want to use it, especially if you're free to play, use it for your best units. I mean, Lennius's, your Vanes, your Adels, your Shift Balins, your Lagerboses, all those guys that would love some more SC, feel free. There's no really tier list. I mean, you could base it on who you use the most and stuff, but yeah, 3 free prisms. You'd love to see it. As well as God Relic Prism Shards to make God Relic Prisms. It's a nice event. The other stuff that we're seeing is, because of that's released, we also have White Day, which is some shit that people have been waiting literally all year for. 30k for any male unit up to Vane is pretty ridiculous. And because of that, or just for reference, the units here last released. Is this really in order? Jesus, this order is terrible. Your biggest picks, right? So what we've encouraged in the past, and for cheap, 30k, all free to play gems. If you have it, if you've saved up enough, you can get a really, really good unit. I would say, and a lot of us have suggested in the community, to get units that are going to have longevity, maybe not necessarily a physical DPS, right? Lennius and Shift Lagerbos, because there's basically no good mages in the game, and they do create, Adis has created an atmosphere where the most potent mages are just head and shoulders above the rest. In PvE content, Lennius and Shift Lagerbos are very, very potent. So those are going to be the first 2 gunning, you would gun towards. Maja, probably still worth 30k, but probably less so than Lennius or Shift Lagerbos. And then you're looking at the physical DPS that are here who are already cracked. If you felt like getting those, I mean, there's physical DPS that come out bi-weekly that are just going to be even, if not better, to match them. to their potency. I mean, I can't say they would match in their potency. Vayne, Adel, and Adel essentially are two of the best units in the game right now. And those being having on rate up on here, as well as you can pity for 30k. There's a lot of strong units. So basically, Lenius, Shift Lagerbos, Vayne, and Adel are like the 4 that you could choose in between if you didn't have them. It's just feels a little bad because I feel like there's more power creep coming. I feel like Enhanced 6 is coming. I feel like there's collabs coming. So like spending 30k now on a unit of, especially a physical DPS that can get power crept very soon. I'm not saying they're going to, but it's a risk. If you're willing to take the risk, go ahead. I would say my pick out of the whole, after using all these units for however long they've been out, Lenius would be my pick. Because he's not as new player friendly, but he is going to, you'll build into him. He's more like a, he's like a, I was going to word that really weirdly. He's just someone that you're going to, has become more powerful over the course of the game because he has so much to offer. And until he gets power crept, he will be that way. So Vayne, Adel being physical DPS, again, new physical DPS released almost every 2 weeks. And then Shift Lagerbos is also very, very potent for newer players, mostly. Lenius is more of like a min-max endgame mage. Lagerbos is just going to beat the hell out of pretty much all your enemies that you'll fight, which is hilarious. Yeah, that's all I kind of have to say. White people wait around again all year for White Day to come back. We had this last year, and people were pumped to get it. And the fact that it came back in the same kind of aspect, it's good. Shadow brings up unit select ticket. Yes, there's always unit select tickets too that might happen for in big events like anniversary, like New Year's, like half anniversaries. So you're willing to risk that 30k to snag a unit now. It still has good value. It's just that just don't regret it later. Would you got anything to add to White Day?
It's just tough to look at it from an end game and beginner's perspective and balance that for sure. Like a new player that picks up Lenius and kind of listens to 40% of what all you explained is going to be like, why did I pick this unit? Because he's going to feel so trash.
Yep.
So just be very aware that a lot of the units nowadays, like the new Melza, they're tools that don't shine until you get to that end game status. And then there are units that do extremely well in the beginning, and then they taper off, right? Their potential kind of plateaus when you look at that end game lens. So there is no unit that's one size fits all. It's just got to be what your priorities are.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, is there any unit in this gacha that you would say is as much value as M-Theria on the Valentine's Day gacha? No.
Not even close.
No. Yeah. They're good units. There's none of them are like, hey, I need it right now. It's going to alter my gameplay. Whether I'm a new endgame player, doesn't matter. It's going to be super powerful for me. No, that doesn't exist in this gacha. The Valentine's Day gacha for M-Theria was cracked out of its mind. And again, we can probably get more unit tickets, select tickets. These units are getting older. And even if you didn't pull for them on DOH banners, you could get them in the future. Like, there's no guarantee that you need to spend 30k now and you're never going to get them again. So yeah. Adel, I think Adel, Shift Lagerbos, Lenius are all going to be added to the DOH banner poll in April anyways. Vayne is going to take a little longer. I think he's going to be added in July. So keep that in mind. Like, the 3 of the 4 best units that I just mentioned are going to be on every single DOH banner mid-April and on. So you have decisions to make. If you don't want to spend anything on the White Day banner, that's perfectly fine. No one's going to cost you for that. If you already have Shift Lagerbos or Lenius or a good mage, you don't have to spend for any of the other ones. If you should probably have rerolled for a good physical DPS in the first place, and if you're around for the Tales of collab, you probably got a really good DPS, physical DPS, so you don't need anything there. It's just really personal preference at this point. But yeah, pretty cool.
Anything trying to even think of what unit I want to say. We haven't had content that has caught up to the power creep for a very long time.
I was just having a conversation today about Maze, right? And the Maze was released in August, which our best unit at the time was like Lagrange and Shift Leona. And at that point, it was like, holy smokes, this is really hard. Dude, I walk into Maze right now with any of the current physical DPS, and it's just like you can just plug and play them wherever you want, and it's just like you just dominate with damage. We didn't have that options when it first came out. So even Maze, the 30 floors of Maze of Tartarus, with the current units that we have now, it's just like, where's ridiculous. The content difficulty for? I mean, okay, that's taken with a grain of salt because I do have everything. I have my account is pretty much fully built up, so I have an advantage.
It's a little different.
A lot. It's a little different, right? But getting a good physical DPS, getting good mages, you'll have an instant advantage on the content that has already been put out. Yeah, Maze feels a little.
Yeah, I think where they screwed up with, yeah, because if I were to say what is like the final thing you can do in this game that's considered PvE finish line, it's just at least clearing the 30 floors, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is they didn't make the rewards worth even doing that.
And that's fine. Honestly, I feel like, you know, if I personally feel like it's Maze has always been a personal growth experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you feel like you don't care about the rewards, there's no rewards, you don't care about it, then that's like a mindset, right? But if you care about making your gameplay better, if you care about trying to figure out mechanics and figure out how you can get better at the game, if you want to compete in things like time trials, any ranking events that are PvE, it's an important step towards that, right? So for the people that just care about rewards, I think it is a good bit of the player base, but it's a totally different mindset than what I think the Maze is geared towards.
And well, I'm fine with that for the ranking, but I still think there should be a better incentive just to encourage, because the whole point of Maze, the reason it's so endgame is not only because it's difficult in terms of enemy bulkiness and amount of HP you have to chew through, but you need the units and the gear and the arcs to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, there should be, it could be such a good incentive to have people want to collect the units, want to build them up, want to spend the time that is the grind in this game. But most people will try the first floor, realize what it is, and you're
check the rewards and be like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, your casual everyday majority player will just be like, yeah, no, I'm good. So
and that's the thing, I don't think it's geared towards them at all, or purposely geared towards them at all.
No. Now, if you could get, I don't know, if you could get some crazy busted gear from Maze, I feel like that alone could just encourage many people to want to do it. But I mean, that's all speculation. That was a tangent for sure. The moral of the story is, the moral of the story is like there's no content benchmark to use on which units you should pull nowadays.
Right. Everything just slaps. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. So on that note, I don't know what's coming next content wise, right? Like, so we all kind of expect Enhanced 6 to be a thing. We kind of expect, and with that in mind, we kind of expect new stages to farm. Like, dude, we have well outgrown the Godforge stages. Well outgrown. The Ability Gate stages, well outgrown them. The Limit Breaker fields, like the power, you're right. The power creep has well outpaced the content. With that in mind, we may be getting, in the next 6 months, I don't know freaking when, but like it feels like an Enhanced 6 is on the horizon, right? Hopefully, we get, and I don't mean to like ruin everyone's grind mindset, but it's probably going to introduce new materials to grind. It's probably going to introduce hopefully harder battles to grind with multiplayer, PvE, whatever, to get those resources. And just for daily playability, I hope that happens. But for actual endgame content with rewards, yeah, we haven't had that in a while.
I mean, even if it's just going back, making god stages and stories and introducing new world bosses along the way that match the current level. I don't think it's, like maybe world bosses that are unlocked after you beat a certain god stage at a certain point, so that you at least have that requirement to go into it knowing that you can at least output some level of DP. That's to me, that's even a level of content that I just feel they desperately need to do. But
yeah,
it is what it is, man. That's may not be my fight to fight anymore.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough, bro. It's a little bit rough.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it for me on this content. I think if you wanted to discuss what you were planning on discussing, that's...
Should I end the poll?
I think it's about time. Should you end the poll? Do we have a poll going? Ooh, 160 votes. Nice. Go ahead.
160 votes. I'll close it out. Do you think Booda is retiring LC? It's pretty down the middle for sure. So, majority, though, say yes. Oh, goodness, tweaks. I posted my first Last Cloudia video when? December 4th, 2020.
Nice.
That's when I started.
2.5 years, man, almost. Well,
almost 2.5 years. Craziness. And my God, has it been a journey, man. Almost gets me emotional thinking back on it.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. But if you look at my game client, Arena hasn't been done. There's exclamation marks all over the place. I haven't logged in for 4 days, y'all. So the answer's yes. I am uninstalling LC after this podcast. The time has come where your boy Booda is laying down his sword. We've come quite a long way, Tweaks. And it feels like it went by pretty quick.
It does. We started this, we started doing podcasts in what? March?
Yeah.
March of 2021?
Dr. Stone,
I think it was been almost 2 years, right?
Yeah. My goodness, a lot of episodes. This is POWERCREEP.
We started out with
44.
Crypty. It was me, you, and Crypty against the OG, the Pro podcast or whatever.
LC Pro
we
podcast.
Brought in Deimos, and then we changed it to
Pen.
POWERCREEP podcast. Then we rolled in for the past, essentially. We've been doing it really, really consistently, honestly, for the past 2 years.
Honestly, though, kudos, because and totally just a passion project, which
for
is
sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's literally just talking about the game and not really anything coming back from it, but it's just been a lot of fun.
It has been a ton of fun. I mean, like you said, shout out to Crypt Man, shout out to Demos. The OG4, I think originally I had wanted it to be a podcast with you because I had seen your videos before any of us knew your voice.
Right.
Saw your videos, said, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And then I proposed you making a podcast with a couple other veterans in the community. And I was like, y'all should call it the LC Pro Podcast. Crypt Man jumped in and said, oh, well, I'll introduce you and Tweaks, and I'd love to be a third host. And made a little Discord group, and that's all she wrote. That's how it all began. And then I think we humbled ourselves at some point and changed the name. Also, POWERCREEP podcast just rolled off the tongue.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotcha. It's POWERCREEP. It always made sense.
It made sense. So, yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, kind of an I was telling Tweets, feels like an anticlimactic end to your boy Booda at the moment because I don't have any speech that I wrote. I don't have an outro final video that I made for you guys. Definitely been in a denial phase, dedicating the last 2 years towards this. But I think in the last couple months, I tried my attempt at pivoting to other things, and nothing just quite stuck the way I needed it to, or at least in my personal way of gauging. So yeah, I mean, with dropping the game, it really is just dropping any kind of content. Right, I don't have any plans to try anything new. I don't have any plans for anything. So That's why this title is not a clickbait troll. This is Melza officially retiring Booda.
Melza done killed Booda, bro.
Melza done killed Booda. It's crazy. And so too many of the questions I saw in chat, like what's going to happen with the Power Creep podcast. I think Tweaks and I are going to talk a little more after this and figure out how he wants to handle it. As you may or may not have noticed, the channel name has been changed to just the Power Creep podcast. So, you know, I'd be happy to have it just be the channel that hosts it if there is a plan to continue it moving forward, but obviously those details need to get figured out.
Yeah, we'll try to work something out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. I can't give any certain details at the moment, but you know, we don't have anything going on till at least the next update and a half, so we'll see.
And the Booda Gang guilds, right? That's another subject matter. I understand. I mean, this is a pretty huge announcement. And so if many of you don't want to be in a Booda Gang guild or just, you know, rep the brand technically, I totally get it. So obviously I'll try and handle that with the guild leaders, and in Discord, of course, we can figure that out. But we'll downsize or change things as we need to. But obviously I'm going to be inactive, so it just feels weird to have a guild that I'm a leader of and not play at all. So just want to make a nice smooth transition into the next stage of life. And I mean, I can't even put into words. I don't even if I wrote something down.
You've built a hell of a community, to be fair. Like,
I mean, come on.
It's been awesome, to be fair.
It has. So obviously the channel still will be here if you want to relive the last 2 years of content. I have the Booda Fish archive playlist on the channel if you just scroll down on the homepage.
Oh, you did put it back up?
So they're up, they're just unlisted, but the thing is, if they're in a playlist that's accessible, everyone can still see the videos.
Okay, good to know, because I genuinely couldn't find stuff.
You just can't search
so that makes
them.
Sense.
Yes, and
right, all right.
It's definitely not as clean as I would have liked. I wish you could still search for them if you're looking for it, but I wanted to clean up the actual visual structure of the channel.
Right, makes sense.
So I had to sacrifice the visibility of the other videos.
You're only short.
I took away all the shorts.
That's
the only one that's going to be there. Yep, March 23rd, 2023. So let me just say, like I said, even if I tried to write something, it wouldn't be able to put the feelings into words. Thank you guys for the last, I'm just going to say 2.5 years. Tweaks, I mean, my God, you could sue me for wage labor at this point.
All
the content
all free.
Well,
it's all been fun. It's all been for my enjoyment, to be fair. So don't worry about it.
Obviously, I'll still be on Discord every now and then to talk with you guys, see what's going on. I really do feel like we have formed some real friendships and a strong community throughout the last few years. So it's been awesome. Tweaks, you're like my LC bro at this point, so.
I already thought we were bros, dude.
Exactly. So it does there's I don't even want to say bittersweet. It's definitely a sad moment for me. But hopefully the future will hold something strong, and I'm never one to just shut possibilities down in the future.
Right.
If Adel comes through and says, "Hey, big boy, let me give you this check. Keep making videos." I'm all for it. Just gonna throw that out there. But
just gotta add that in there. No big deal. To the powers that be. Just FYI.
My DMs are open. So just write it off as marketing expense. Easy
peasy.
It is what it is. But I think I'm gonna put a period right there.
Good to do.
And just end it by saying, y'all know what we say. Work hard, play hard. Thank you guys for everything. See you next time.